Well, hello. Welcome back. This week we're going to be talking about Bootstrap. Now, I want to warn you that if you Google Bootstrap on the internet, you're going to get all sorts of things, none of which have anything to do with this. So you might want to try Googling the Bootstrap project or just Bootstrap world. Both of those will take you where you want to go. Okay, so what exactly is Bootstrap? What we're talking about is a curriculum, and it is a curriculum that teaches primarily middle school students about programming. It is designed to be used at the pre-algebra level. Of course, it can be used at more sophisticated mathematical levels, but it doesn't require a lot of mathematical sophistication from students. One of the interesting things about it is that it is also designed to be work in tandem with many of the mathematics standards. So you see here the Common Core standards for mathematics, and in particular, a lot of stuff from grade 7 to Algebra 2, as far as functional and algebraic, they're in there in one form or another. They're also the Common Core for mathematical practice. A long time ago, when we talked about standards, this was one of the things that came up, which is that the mathematical practice standards actually can be taught very nicely using computers. Things like persistence. Boy, you got to learn that if you're going to write computer programs. There's also, if you're teaching using the connected math curriculum, there's units that work very well in here that can go there. And finally, if you look at the computer science teaching standards, levels 1 and 2 are covered by Bootstrap 1. Levels 2 and 3 are actually covered with Bootstrap 2. So if you're doing any of these, Bootstrap fits very nicely in your system. Okay. Now, I want to emphasize that Bootstrap is actually entirely free. You can just download the curriculum and off you go. Okay, they have student workbooks. They even have a teacher presentations, which are down to like 5-minute intervals. So spend 5 minutes doing this, spend 10 minutes doing that, and so on. It's extremely organized. One of the early visions of Bootstrap, and it's still there, is that particularly if you live in an area that has a high concentration of professionals, for example, New York City, Houston, Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, a lot of times the professionals want to volunteer and give something to the schools, but they don't know what to do. So you can give a volunteer the Bootstrap curriculum and say, here, do this for us. And they could run an after-school program. You know, they don't have the experience that you guys would have with working with kids. So they really need a lot of help. So Bootstrap comes with a lot of help, okay? Now, the curriculum itself is organized into two main groups. I could even use the word classes here. I mean, they have just two different offerings. There is Bootstrap 1 and Bootstrap 2. Bootstrap 1 is the only thing I'm going to talk about in this class because we just don't have time to cover everything. But it's similar. It just goes a lot more in depth. It does more things with computing. Each group has exactly 9 units. And each unit is roughly speaking 90 minutes. Actually, some of them are a little bit less. They're in the order of like 70 minutes and so on. The plan is to offer this either as an after-school program. You can do it in 9 weeks. You can also do it in 10 weeks just by having an extra day for kids to catch up. I actually find that doing 10 weeks or even 11 weeks is very helpful. The very last week is simply show and tell. What did you do? And I like to invite parents to that one so that they can see, oh my God, this is what my kid did for the last 18 weeks. That's awesome. But you know, the program claims to be 9 weeks. It can also be incorporated into the classroom. So a lot of people will be teaching mathematics, but will say, you know, for 4 weeks in the class or 3 weeks in the class, we're actually going to be doing Bootstrap instead. And so instead of one lesson a week for 9 weeks, they might do 3 lessons a week for 3 weeks. And that works out just as good. Okay, so it's promoted as a 25-hour unit that combining both of those, Bootstrap 1 and Bootstrap 2, so you could spend 25 hours in the classroom doing this. Like I said, I actually like to have a little bit of extra time to do it. Now, one last thing is that if you do take the Bootstrap route, There is a lot of professional development available for anybody who wants to use this curriculum. The Bootstrap folks will actually, I mean, if we organized a group of, 10 teachers who wanted to do it, they would come to Wyoming and spend some time running a workshop on Bootstrap. Okay, we're gonna focus on Bootstrap 1. This is kind of the first course. What the students will do is actually build a working video game. And if you're doing this as an after-school program, you might want to consider going to the Bootstrap store and getting teachers to say, I write my own video games. The kids tend to like that quite a bit. There's lots of things that go into building a video game, and the way that the Bootstrap curriculum works is that every week for the first 8 weeks, essentially, you do something that makes your video game move forward, at the end of which you have a working game. I have to lower expectations here. This is not going to win any video game awards necessarily, but it's something that you can play. And although I was skeptical at first, because I thought, well, the kids are just going to look at it and go, my God, that's lame. The truth is that because they're the ones who wrote it, they get a great sense of pride and accomplishment. So it's a good thing. Okay. Now, one warning I have to give you, the teachers, is this. Every once in a while, actually, I would say that in at least half the weeks, what you're doing doesn't seem to have anything to do with the video game. Okay, there is zero connection, but that's because they're teaching you a principle that's going to be very, very important in your video game. So keep that in mind. Sometimes the students will say, when do we get to our game? Okay, hang on, we're getting there. Okay, the students will write their game using a computer language called Scheme. Scheme is what's known as a general purpose programming language. What does that mean? It means you can use it to write video games. You can also use it to write accounting software. You can use it to write programs that look at music and do strange things with it, like change the timing or compressing it. Anything you can think of, you can do with Scheme. That's different than some of the other approaches targeted towards middle school students, where we give them a tiny little sandbox and say, playing that. And once they learn how to do that, we say, okay, no, sorry, you can't do anything more. That's all you can do with our system. So go ahead and learn a different language, and then you can move on from there. This will grow with you if you want it to. That's the way computer scientists actually do programming, right? This is the world that we live. This is a language that you could actually use in the computer science curriculum as the programming language that everybody has. It's not limited to some set of conditions and actions. It is full-blown. If you only learn one programming language, it could be Scheme. Okay. Now, the honest truth is that it's not the one that I would pick as the only programming language. I'd go with Python, but Scheme is actually could serve the entire purpose.